Ark.Exe.
Cambridge is a very beautiful place to live, and none of these stories are meant to bash our city, nor the residents that occupy this adorable town, or shine any negative light on it. Cambridge is a very unique and gracious city to live in. I insist you visit for yourself. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
3 True Disturbing Cambridge, Ontario Horror Stories Volume 2.
It was nearing Halloween around the time of the story, the leaves changing to beautiful reds and oranges and yellows. The air had become cooler and crisp. It's one of my most favorite times of year. I'm a bigger guy, so I was determined to lose weight for this upcoming Christmas to impress my fiancée and family, since I was always known as the fat guy. So I would go on regular walks each day around my beautiful downtown area of my city. Us locals call it Galt. It's very timely looking, older European-style buildings, absolutely unique and beautiful. Anyways, the route that I walk leads me along the river, near some abandoned old-looking houses. They had an old-looking oak tree in the front yard, with those long, lower looming branches hanging down. The tree looked very Halloween-y, if that makes sense. Anyways, hanging from one of the branches was an odd decoration. By odd, I mean it was a rope hanging from a branch, but the object was hanging was a garbage bag, wrapped in duct tape, and the shape seemingly could have been a person. I didn't think much of it, because it was around Halloween, so, spooky fun. However, it always gave me a weird feeling. Day after day, on my walk, I would continuously see it hanging there from the branch, eerily slinging, swaying, when the fall breeze would graze it. Long story short, eventually the decoration was gone and taken down, so again, I assumed it was just Halloween fun. It turns out, it was the body of someone that had unalived themselves via a drug overdose. When his friends had found him, they decided to string him up in the tree out front of the abandoned house. They would always squat and do drugs in there. I'm guessing it was fear of repercussion. Plus you don't think with a clear mind while you're high, I'm sure. Either way, something I thought was Halloween fun turned out to be something far, far worse. Still makes my stomach turn thinking about it. If you have any stories you want me to read/cover, personal or friend or someone you know, send me an email at saiboku4532@gmail.com. Thank you. I used to volunteer at the Bridges homeless shelter. I was in 9th grade at the time. Since volunteer work was mandatory to graduate, I was looking for some options. Earlier that year, I had volunteered with City Hall for Arts Week project, but it wasn't enough hours. So I decided I would rather help some people instead of doing something boring that the school had picked. The interview that I did with them was much like a regular job interview, that they asked me questions about why I wanted to work there, how long I had worked there, who I was referred to by, and a small tour of the building. I went in on Wednesday nights. They made me sign a contract that I owed them service for the entire year and that I wasn't allowed to back out. Thank God, weirdly, that when COVID happened, and they gave us an exception out of discomfort. On the first day, I came in, and I looked at one of the cafeteria areas. It was so upsetting, to say the least. There were so many stains, dirty tables, chairs, and the people there didn't look so good either. I walked back to the kitchen, took off my coat, washed my hands, and put on one of the aprons. Even the aprons themselves were disgustingly dirty, clearly super old and not washed in a while. The kitchen was thankfully always sanitized, the whole way through, but that wasn't the problem. The kitchen was great. It was everything else. One day, one of our patrons had an overdose and bled all over the table. They gave me an old rag, some glass cleaner, and told me to clean it up. So there I was, 14, no biohazard training at all, cleaning drug-contaminated blood off a dirty table with no gloves, mask, or any kind of protective gear. It's a miracle I didn't get sick at all. Then the next week, 2 police officers came in, looked at a lady and said, "You know the drill, let's go." And she said, "Ah, you caught me." And nobody batted an eye. The amount of crime in this area is astronomical. The worst part was when I was no longer working there, but in the area. They aren't getting enough help, and sadly, it shows. Before we get into our last story, if you're enjoying the video, please hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow for future content and videos. Thank you. I used to work for WRPS. During my time as an officer, I saw some very gruesome or horrible stuff in my city that I had served. A lot of it was swept under the rug, or didn't make news headlines. However, this was a common occurrence every year, and it haunted me the most. If you're from around here, it's no secret. We have a very terrible homeless/drug problem. I don't say that to bash these unfortunate people, or people struggling with issues like addiction and homelessness. It's a very real issue. Every year around wintertime, it gets very cold here in Canada, so it becomes very hard to stay warm when you're homeless. Very early in the morning, I would have to go on patrol through our local parks, looking around and up in the trees. Why, you might ask? When the addicts go to get high, they usually move to an isolated area like parks or forests. But since it's winter time, and they're high and probably aren't thinking the best, they would climb trees in the park to get away from the cold ground, falling asleep or passing out in them, which would lead to them freezing to in them, and we would either find them slumped over in the tree unalive from either a drug OD or from freezing from the cold weather. Having to take frozen people out of the trees always made me distraught and feel bad for them. Looking for them every morning around the local park was very upsetting. It wasn't something I'd be looking forward to, and my heart goes out to these people, truly. Something about having to start your day, or end your long night shift, of scavenging hunting people from frozen trees, always made me feel uneasy. Something my time on the force I'll never forget.
Dim night tonight, and what's the worst thing I can't say? Things are better